From Del Rio, Texas, Rob Wade and Robert Garza. Two guys who dive. This episode of Two Guys Who Dive, recorded live 29 November 2014. Episode 123, No More Spur 454. Well, howdy folks, I'm your host Rob Wade, and I'm going solo again because Robert Scubadog is out of town. He and his family are doing the post Black Friday shopping thing in a little burg just south of Del Rio called Eagle Pass. We'll actually be hitting that on Monday ourselves. Of course, it's kind of silly at this point because if there were things that you were expecting to buy, it's pretty much all gone at this point. Matter of fact, of course, we just had Black Friday if you are living as a hermit somewhere. And I paid a visit to our Walmart later in the afternoon just to kind of see about a couple of things that Tara and I have been interested in, namely really big screen TVs. We're getting older, so we'd like to see everything magnified. No, I'm kidding, sort of. But we are looking to upgrade. And so we've had our eye on a couple of different large screen televisions at Walmart. And I thought, you know what, let me go see what's left after the disaster that is Black Friday. Of course, in Del Rio, we don't have a large number of shopping options, so Walmart is the place where everybody just absolutely goes nuts when there's a huge sale like Black Friday. So, and they had a number of TVs of various sizes and a lot of other electronics at steep discounts. I'm sure many of which were at a limited quantity available. Let me bring Graza into the frame here. Say hi to everybody. Okay, close enough. And I was surprised, actually, a number of like the smaller TVs, like 32, 40-inch, they still had plenty. But for some reason, all of the really big screen televisions that really weren't on sale any more than their normal discount, they were sold out on. We were looking specifically at 60-inch screens, and all they had was the display. Now, one of the things, I tweet frequently from Walmart when I go shopping, grocery shopping, because their process is, at least in the Del Rio store, the Del Rio Walmart, their processes are horrible. If you have good supply chain management, you have very rare situations where you are actually out of a product. And yet, frequently, huge areas of shelves completely empty. And then they go through this ridiculous process of wanting to rearrange things. You know, here's the thing. I'm very process oriented and have slowly but surely converted our household to be more efficient. And so we use our smartphones, our tablets, our PCs. We use technology, namely the OneNote application or program, to share, among other things, we have our shopping list. So either one of us can update it at any point, even while you're in it shopping. It can be updated. It's great. But the way that we have things laid out, as far as the order of what our list might be, is the order that we would typically go through Walmart. We make a kind of a counterclockwise trek through Walmart. So that means that when we come in the front door, we peel off to the right, and there's the health and beauty aids, etc. Then there's the seasonal type stuff moving towards electronic or home or auto, then tools, that kind of thing, then domestics, then electronics, and then the grocery side. So by the time we've gone through the grocery side, that stuff is not, is at least, it's going to have less of a problem of melting or getting too hot or too cold because we've just taken it out of the grocery store. If we started with that, obviously it would be very inefficient, etc. So we have our list organized that way. And then they change things around, and it screws with our list. I have yet to find a good marketing reason for changing things up. When I go to shop for specific things, and I don't spend a lot of time looking around unless my purpose is to look around. So anyway, when it comes to being out of things that are in demand, especially that you have a fairly low stock on, it makes sense to me that one of the things you should consider doing is having some sort of visual management, a cue that this is no longer available, so that when you go, for instance, as I did, looking for the big screen TVs, and you've sold out of them, and here we are at the end of the year, when you've sold out of them, put some sort of a sign up, we're sold out, or display unit is the only thing available, something like that, because I won't waste my time bothering the employees and waste my time waiting for them to go check something. As soon as you know you're out of stock on something, you put a sign up. And it would even be more helpful if you had something that that indicated whether or not you would be restocking that particular item. Because let's face it, the truth is, when we're doing the Black Friday thing, there are a number of things that are either brought in only for that period. They're a short-term acquisition for sale. They're loss leaders or to draw you in the door. Or you're selling them at a deep discount because this is being discontinued and you've got new models that are going to come in our Walmart's case, months later. Again, because they have horrible processes. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I can't say enough. Del Rio Walmart, you're horrible in the way you manage your store. So anyway, put some sort of indicator of whether or not we should even bother with this, because you frustrate your customers when they come in with an expectation and they see something with the sale and with the price and the details and it's on display, which means come see me, come look at my details, come purchase me. And then we ask you, okay, hey, we'd like to buy one of these. And then you say, oh, I'm sorry, we're out of stock in that and we're not getting any more of these. Why do you have it up there? Why do you have the sign up there that's saying that here's how much it is? So again, Walmart, fix your flipping processes. Now, on the other side of the coin, and this is again shows how bad the Walmart here is about doing everything. If you've been watching the previous podcast, you notice that you'll note that I've been talking up the next book, 10-inch Windows 8 tablet with a keyboard that's removable, similar to the Surface, Microsoft Surface devices, but it obviously not up to that scale. But it's very, very, it's a very nice product, given it's only $179. So Tara's got one. Troy bought 3 for his household. Tom, our bass guitarist in our praise team, he bought one because for that price you just can't go wrong. And Walmart actually, the Walmart here in Del Rio is actually selling them, but nowhere are they to be found advertised or marketed or showcased. They have a nice, fancy little display setup for all the stupid Android tablets, even the little toy tablets for little kids. But they have this junky area for Windows-based products, whether it's PCs or laptops. But they have none of the tablets or all-in-one or two-in-ones or convertibles. They have none of those displayed. And if you look through the little window in the cabinet, you'll see that I looked in there, and there were 7 of these Next books. I was almost tempted to just let me buy them all and give them away as gifts or something, because or have them as just spares. It just kills me that a decent product is out there available, and Walmart's doing zero to promote a product that's out there. It's just amazing to me. You literally have to go up and ask them, "Hey, I'm looking for this." And as one of our friends discovered, he actually asked about it, and most of the employees had no clue. "Oh, no, those aren't out yet." And then thankfully, one employee happened to know, probably the department manager, said, "Oh, yeah, actually those are in. They're right over here." I mean, how horrible a process is that? So it's very disappointing. So I'm not sure what we can come to expect when we go to Eagle Pass on Monday to do a little bit of shopping, because Black Friday was also, since it was on the 28th, it was also Tara's birthday. So we were kind of celebrating that, and we'll be kind of doing a belated little shopping trip for her on Monday. So chances are we'll at least visit the Walmart there. And I just have this funny feeling. Let me get Graze back up here again. I have this funny feeling that Walmart is going to be run much better than the one in Del Rio. I want to take the manager in the Walmart in Del Rio and just shake him, or her. I don't know who it is. But they need to do a better job. They need to get department managers who have a clue how to work their areas. It's amazing. Just I would love for any of the businesses here in Del Rio to hire Lean Six Sigma consultants to look at their processes and say, "Okay, you guys are messed up and you need to make some improvements." But that's probably not going to happen. So anyway, as part of the celebration of my wife's birthday, this kind of leads us to a restaurant review, which we haven't done in a while because we haven't visited any new restaurants. We went out to the reopened, under new management, newly revamped Cripple Creek restaurant. And I have to say, it was awesome. Thankfully, the people who own it now, they've brought it back up. In other words, it was really falling down under the last owners that were there, who just let it kind of fall apart. Cripple Creek has a huge history with it for the area. So they have made a pretty exceptional effort to get the restaurant back up to speed. You pretty much going with the same menu with some additional twists, which were great. And Tara and I went there. The decor was just like we remember it was, but when we remembered it as a good restaurant, it got pretty bad there towards the end. But so they've really paid attention to bringing it back to its glory days. The only thing missing is the swing. The restaurant used to have a girl on the swing over what was the bar area, or what is the bar area. With a piano, and it'd have somebody playing there while a girl would swing, the saloon, whatever. So they didn't have that, but it was it looked great. The aromas were fantastic. They went back to the root, surf and turf kind of menu, and it was great. We had the steak and shrimp, and we chose the grilled shrimp, although you could get it fried, and it was excellent. Tara likes hers medium well, I like mine well done. Just wonderful, just well done. And the staff was very attentive. They've been kind of back open for a month now, so the newness has worn off. So if you figure if a restaurant or any business really, if they get past that month, a lot of times you will see that they kind of slide into a happy medium on their service. But I got to tell you, their customer service was absolutely spectacular. The managers came around frequently and say, hey, talking to everybody, not just the uber superficial stuff, but, really genuinely wanting to know, hey, is everything okay? You get served okay? The wait staff were very attentive and definitely earned their money, definitely earned their tip. So if you're in the Del Rio area and you've missed the Cripple Creek, because it's been closed for quite some time from the last management that was there. So if you have been to the Cripple Creek restaurant before the last owners had it, and you remember in its heyday, it's back open and it's in fine style. If your only experience with it was when the crappy owners had it and let it fall apart, and you left with figuratively and literally left with a bad taste in your mouth, I definitely recommend that you try it again. It was well worth it. That's back on our list of places to go now. Now, I will tell you, though, the way they've got it set up right now is they're open from 5 till midnight. So, and you can just walk in, but they also will let you do reservations. So it's a good idea, especially if you have kind of a party going. So, excellent restaurant. 5 to 12, 5 to midnight. Go check them out if you're in the Del Rio area. Cripple Creek Restaurant. Very rustic, log cabin looking place. And I tell you, they're in the best possible of spots right now, because immediately to the right of them, or to the left of them as you're looking at the front of the building, this is where the new loop pulls out off of highway. They're on Highway 90 West, and you just go past the restaurant and you can peel right onto the loop that takes you to the base. So it's excellent for folks from the base. They can come out of the gate. Let me let Ronan up here. Let me switch to full shot. Come here, you. Come here. Say hi to everybody. No. So anyway. So they can come out of the front gate or the west gate, actually, and get on the loop, and then follow that right around, bypass Del Rio proper, and peel off, and you're right there. It's awesome. And because they're finishing up the construction on extending that loop across Highway 90 into the the new developments that are out on the south side of the highway, or the west side of the highway, that makes it very convenient for access there. So awesome. Let's see. So that's our recommendation for a restaurant. Let me check the chat room real quick, see if we got anybody in there. We got a couple of streamers out there. We'll just say hi to y'all out there that are in the chat room. If you got any questions or comments, by all means, jump in there, share it with us, and we'll try to address them or just keep things lively, especially since I don't have my co-host here, and here comes Grayza back again. I don't know what's going on out in our area right now, but it's got the dogs all spun up. Yeah, here's Grayza. Say hi again. The microphone picks up well. Okay, you guys negotiate who's going to sit where back behind me. Again, I have this big chair, but I rarely get to sit in it comfortably because our dogs like to sit here with me. So let me switch cameras. You probably can't. Yeah, you can see. You can see them behind us. So they like to sit behind me, and so I end up sitting literally on the edge of my seat most of the time. So it's all broken down. So I really need to buy a new chair to get to get comfortable again. So anyway, let's check what we got next. Oh yes. While we were at the restaurant, I decided, hey, I'm going to check in. I don't do that every time, every place I go, but I wanted to share my comments, take a picture of the newly reopened, revamped Cripple Creek restaurant. So I whipped out the Foursquare app on my Windows phone, and I had completely forgotten that the folks at Foursquare had created this new thing called Swarm, which is a stupid name to begin with, but they've created a new thing called Swarm. You can't check in from the Foursquare app anymore. They separated it out to the stupid Swarm app. So here I am running up Foursquare thinking I'm going to check in. Well, first thing, the app is horribly designed. It is one of the worst apps as far as user experience I have ever had, and I definitely slammed them in a review after I got done with 30 minutes of, while I'm trying to eat, trying to get their stupid app to work. So I finally get in there and I try to find Cripple Creek Restaurant. Well, it's been closed long enough and only been reopened for a month that it was no longer found in Foursquare. Okay, I get that. And the old Foursquare app, if you try to check in someplace and it wasn't there, it would say, "Oh, would you like to add this place?" And you walked right through the steps of adding the details of where it was, phone number, all that stuff. No, not so easy in this app. And then after I finally did add it in Foursquare, that's when I discovered you can't check in. It says, "Oh, well, you need to use our Swarm app." So then it jumps you over to that. So I had to install the Swarm app. And of course, it didn't immediately integrate with the Foursquare app. I had to restart the stupid phone in order to have the app semi-integrate, where when you do one thing in the Foursquare app, it passes you to the Swarm app. So then it was a painful process to even use the stupid Swarm app to actually check in and send a picture. So Foursquare, y'all are on drugs. This is the worst app I've ever seen on any platform, and I'm just so frustrated that I couldn't do a decent job of checking in to a new restaurant or new to Foursquare because your apps are horribly designed. I don't know how you guys are still popular at all. Useless. Absolutely useless. So, yeah, worst apps ever. So I definitely recommend you stay away from Foursquare, stay away from Swarm. I don't care what platform you're on. All right. On to diving news. Went diving last weekend. I've been taking a lot of use or lose leave here, like on Fridays and Mondays kind of thing. But last Sunday afternoon, got to go on a dive and out at Spur 454. Well, we just had some more rain, and the temperatures, of course, have been dropping. So for me, a dive is a dive. Even when I'm freezing, I enjoy the dive. Just the experience of being weightless. I just love it. I'm pretty much as hardcore as it gets when it comes to diving. So I went out there to knock out a dive, and the dive I had done 2 weeks before, I was in my 5 mil full wetsuit, and the water was low 70s. So I figured, okay, given it's 2 weeks later, and with the rains, etc., the visibility is going to be bad. And also, I'm sure that the I'm sure that the temperatures are gonna will have dropped more because we've had a lot of really colder weather we normally don't see. So global warming again is a myth. So I go out there fully intending I'm going to wear my 7 mil full, but I thought that should be fine. I normally wear 5 mil boots year round because they're just more comfortable. They got the really thick, they got the heavier soles on them, so they're great for walking over rocky areas. But when you wear boots like that, you have to make sure that you are that you've got fins that are sized to fit that. A lot of people make the mistake of getting fins that fit their foot, but not fit their boot. So I've got a set of fins, regular paddle type, that are sized to work with my 1 mil boots that don't have nearly as thick a sole in them. And then I've got a pair of my Tusa split fins that I really love, that are bigger, quite a bit bigger, to fit the mammoth size of the 5 mil boots with the heavy duty soles on them. So anyway, so those are 5 mil. So I was wearing my 5 mil boots, 7 mil wetsuit, and I decided, just for the heck of it, I'll wear my 1 mil gloves. They're more like underwater work gloves because they have extra grip to them, etc. But they've, it's 1 mil of neoprene. So I whipped those out, and then of course just wore my do-rag. I thought I'll be fine. So I get in the water and I discover it was colder. Well, the 7 mil was fine, but the rest of me, that was definitely a mistake going in that light. So I took some video, but here's the thing. Going out there, the road, the Spur 454, basically is a road that ends in the water and then comes out on the other side in the water, from the water. Because when they filled up the lake, it covered most of the road, most of the highway. And because the lake has been down for so long, that area's been open for almost 2 years now. And that's why I've been able to teach classes and do an insane amount of diving out there. But with all this water, I thought, with the last few dives I've made, the water at a certain low point in the road, just before you get to the actual cliff area where we dive, where we've been scuba diving, the water has been really right at the edge. Well, as I suspected, excuse me a moment while I bring Ronan back up. So, right before you get there is a low area of the road. And sure enough, as I expected with the last rain that we got, the water was actually across the road. In fact, I was actually surprised it wasn't already closed, but it wasn't. And it was tough getting the trailer through that water that was on the road to get to the dive. So I figured this is probably my last dive at Spur 54 for at least for a while. If they don't let any more water out and we keep getting more rain, the lake's on its way back up. So I've got some video to show you. Let me switch to the screen region here. There we go. And
you remember? 2, 1, 3.
John is watching.
This is a big
He's in our
blue
chat
head.
room. He was asking
This is
about
a
why
big
this
blue
last
head.
dive. If you watch the end of this video, you'll see what I mean. The water covering Spur 54. I was just talking to somebody this week about diving as an experience. I told him it's So that's what it looks like right now out there. So visibility is pretty much horrible, at least out Spur 454. And temperatures you saw start at 61 and head to 58. And I typically will do at least one dive every month, even through the winter time. Even just getting a 30-minute dive, which is about 30 to 45 minutes in as cold as that water gets, is about as much as I can handle. Even with the hood and the 7mm gloves, etc., that's about as long as I can handle. Because the thing is, when you're wearing the full gear, the full meal deal in a wetsuit as opposed to a dry suit, the only part of you that really is directly exposed to the water is going to be this area right around here, because you've got your hood on, and then the mask kind of layers in. If you've got it fitted correctly, the mask is right there and it's covering your nose. So, and then the mask itself, or the hood itself, is coming down around here, and it may be in under the chin or it may be in front of the chin type, depends. And so the only part of you that's exposed is just right around the mouth, because you're holding onto the regulator. Now, obviously, the option to avoid even that exposure would be to go with a full face mask, which introduces a number of challenges to the scuba diver that's different from just wearing a mask and the regulator. So you spend 30 to 45 minutes in water that at Lake Amistad in the coldest part of winter gets to about 50 degrees. You lose the ability to articulate speech at that point. It's pretty bad. Yeah, you have the frozen lips thing. I can't say consonants very well because my lips won't move. So it's pretty interesting, and not a lot of people are hardcore enough divers to go out and do that. And as I mentioned during the video, as far as when I add the text, when you are down at 90 feet or even 60 feet or even 40 feet and it's getting dark there, and here this was in the middle of the afternoon when I did this dive. When it's cold and dark, it can be very foreboding. Again, if the psychology, if you haven't got your head wrapped around the psychology of it, the movie The Abyss, if you've seen that, that's one of those movies that as divers we kind of think is cool. We like that. We like Deep Blue and there's a number of Sanctum. We love those kind of, and The Cave. We love those kind of movies because they kind of mix unrealistic situations with the thing that we love most, which is diving. But if you look towards the end of the movie The Abyss, you've got the main character jumping in wearing a dry suit, but it's a special helmet, special system that the Navy had in this movie that uses oxygenated liquid to breathe. And he gets down, just an incredibly insane depth. And you see him kind of going through, getting to a point where he's so overcome or overwhelmed by the cold, the dark, the depth, that he kind of starts to go into a fetal position, which I could get a sense of how that could happen on a dive like this. But because I enjoy it so much, I'm easily able to squelch any of the potential negative thoughts. But it's not in that kind of situation where it's cold, you're not really the most comfortable. I certainly wasn't the most comfortable I've been on a cold water dive because I was wearing a do-rag instead of a hood, and I only had the 1 mil gloves on as opposed to my 5s or my 7s. But if it weren't for the fact that I just enjoy that, even though I was not as comfortable as I normally am, I could easily kind of get freaked out by and overcome by the dark. But that's why it's important as a diver that you dive frequently. You get out there and get as much diving under your belt as you can. John, I know you're watching out there, and you were talking about how you've just had a relatively few dives, and you're anxious to get more in. And I'm right there with you. I fully support that. I'll dive with you as much as possible. But you can't get to a point where you're comfortable with that kind of a situation until you've had a number of dives under your belt. Same with diving deep on a wreck, going to like the Keys and places like that. not all, but most of those wrecks are pretty deep, especially if they're ones that were intentionally sunk. The ones that are true, actual shipwrecks, they happen in all sorts of waters, typically shallower waters, because storms come and they wreck on a reef and take on water, and they sink and they disintegrate there. But for artificial reefs, they are typically intentionally prepared, and they're sunk in deep enough water so that changes in tide, potential boat traffic is not going to run the risk of running afoul of the artificial reef. So those are necessarily deep, and when I say that, they're typically 70 feet and deeper. So as a basic open water diver, you're certified, you're trained for a max of 60 feet. But as we've talked about on the show before, if you are looking to do those kinds of dives, you need to get with folks who are experienced and are very, very sensitive to helping you become comfortable with the depths. As an instructor, I recommend normally that students, after they get their basic certification, that they go out and just dive a lot. Get a number of dives under your belt to where you really have started to get a hold of your buoyancy control, because that's going to be one of the most important skills that you can really fine tune. PADI, the Professional Association of Dive Instructors, they try to push a lot of education. That's their thing, and I don't disagree with that. But while they would love for instructors to get somebody to go through their basic and then follow that immediately up with the advanced course, I try to discourage that. I would rather students get their basic certification, get some dives under their belt, get really comfortable with the skills they just learned, then come back and add some new things, because you are going to learn some new skills as part of the advanced course. Not to mention the fact that you're going to be doing a no kidding deep dive. You're going down to 90 feet to experience what that's like. And oh, by the way, when you're in the kind of environment that you just saw in the video, you go down to 90 feet, a number of factors that are different in that situation where it's cold and dark can help alter your psychology enough, and also your body enough, so that nitrogen narcosis that you normally don't feel at 90 feet, you might begin to feel. And it'd be easy to succumb to the whims that nitrogen narcosis, which is like being drunk, brings upon you. So that's another reason why I highly recommend getting some dives first before going to the advanced. Now, if somebody says absolutely they want to do the advanced course, and I feel that they are ready to do that, again, it's also recognizing the psychology of it, recognizing where the diver is in their head. And I've got a good sense of that now after diving for as many years as I have, that if it looks like they're ready to go, even though their skills aren't honed yet, I'll do it. If they insist, I'll do it. But I definitely try to recommend get some dives under your belt first. So, and then a discussion that John and I had over email, which was pretty cool. I said I need to kind of talk about this on the show. Was asking about masks. Now, when we're teaching the course, we require students to bring their personal gear. I'll provide the BC, the tanks, the weights, the computer, the regulators, signal, sausage, and whistle. I'll provide that stuff. They just got to bring their personal gear. And there's a reason why it's called the personal gear. is because it's specifically sized to you. A properly fitting wetsuit is an absolute must as far as knowing that you're comfortable in the water. You can't just take something that somebody here, I think this will fit you. It needs to fit you snug. It can't be a lot of loose material on you. Otherwise, it loses its ability to work as a wetsuit. The way a wetsuit works, not a dry suit, but a wetsuit. The way that works is it's got that honeycomb effect in the material. And so water actually gets into those cells. And as long as the neoprene is, or the titanium, or whatever the material is that's in the suit you're wearing, as long as that is tight to your body, no gaps where water can move between the material and your body, your body heat actually warms up that water that's trapped in there. And so it creates a buffer, a somewhat insulating buffer between your skin directly and the water outside. If you have a gap between the neoprene and your body, then you're never going to warm that up. And so you're going to get chilled pretty quick. You don't want it so tight that it cuts off your circulation, that it makes it impossible for you to move, especially around the neck. You could actually pass out if it's too tight around the neck. Same with the hood is important. So all of this should fit very snugly. So that's why that's personal gear. Also, the mask the same way. There are so many different types of masks, and we're gonna kind of show some really basic comparisons here to get you some ideas of what we're talking about. Let me bring that up. So, and those need to be fitted to your face, and not all masks are the same. A friend of ours, Gloria, has a very small face. She has really, the shape of her head is childlike. So she can't just go into your average dive shop and grab any mask, even a small mask. She typically has to get ones that are designed for junior divers. And so it's important to get those fitted properly for you. Now, once you've got it fitted, once you have an idea what's the right size for fitting your face, you then have a number of things to consider, whether there's a purge valve on it or not, and then how the visibility is. Now, some of the basic breakdowns that we have are based in the most critical piece is how do you see through them. So they're typically talked about in terms of windows. So the first one we've got here shown is what is called a one window mask. So you'll see there's no break between the eyes. In other words, there's nothing that blocks the bridge, so you can see all full. You've got full panoramic view from left to right. Okay, so there's nothing that blocks like your right eye from seeing towards the left. If this had something on the bridge, so the lens goes fully across. Now you'll notice that this has a black skirt on it. In other words, the part that surrounds the lens is black. Now some people prefer maybe a one-windowed mask, but prefer that they don't see anything to the peripheral. They can see fully in front of them with no gaps, but they don't want to see something in their peripheral vision or even the shadow of something. So having a dark, fully opaque skirt is important to them. So it's kind of like having blinders on a horse, where they can only see straight ahead. They can't get distracted or frightened by things coming up on the left or right. So this mask gives you full field of view ahead of you, but limits your peripheral vision because of the darkness. You could get a similar design mask, a single windowed mask, that maybe has a clear or moderately opaque skirt to it, so that you can still see like the shadow of something. So it draws your attention, then you turn your head so they actually come into the field of view. but that's one consideration. Okay, so let's look at a two-windowed mask. All right, so this is what we would call a two-windowed mask, and this is probably one of the more common designs that most people see. They go to Walmart, etc. So there's two separate lenses. There's one for each eye, and you'll see this one has a more of a light or partially opaque skirt to it. So this person could get a sense for shadows of things coming up around them, but not be fully distracted by them. But the beauty of this type of a mask is it's a little bit cheaper and less expensive. And these are the types that are easier to get prescription lenses for. So if you don't fancy wearing contacts underwater, Tara and I both wear contacts underwater. We've not had any issues. We've had some interesting stories to tell, but we've never had a disaster. So, but if you're leery of wearing contacts underwater, then this is the type of mask that's easiest to get prescription lenses or inserts for, because these are two separate windows that can be replaced. Okay, so let's go look at a three-windowed type. You're thinking, three windows? How in the world would that work? Well, that's how this works. So you'll notice that it's got the full, unbridged, unbroken front view, similar to the first mask that we saw, but it adds the peripheral vision. So you'll see that with this type of a mask, you have side panels. You have a side panel on each side so that you actually get your peripheral vision fully, which is pretty cool. So these would be very handy for people who do do work type things underwater, or other things where they need to be more fully aware of things that are going on around them. So I kind of like these, but I've not found any that fit me comfortably. But I do love the peripheral vision on these. So this is a three-windowed mask. So let's look at a four-windowed mask, and I'll bet you can guess what that looks like. And that's what it looks like. So it's like the two-windowed mask, but it adds the peripheral vision to them. So you get the break in the middle. So now these are, you can also get these in prescription type, but it's hard. They're definitely more expensive because of the side windows on them. Sometimes what you'll see is they add, they actually add a piece to the front panel, the front part of the lens, kind of like you see in the old style bifocals. They'll do an insert actually in the glass that way. Again, they're more expensive that way, but if you want your peripheral vision but still need to see forward, but you like the support of the break in the middle, then this would be the four-window type. Now, one of the questions that John had was about purge versus non-purge. So you might be asking, well, what is that? Well, you see where the nose cup is on all of these masks. And let me go back. So you see the nose cup. See, there's nothing there in these. Okay? But you can get a purge that actually goes in the bottom. The mask is designed with this in the bottom. And so what happens is this is a one-way valve. And so when you exhale through your nose and you overpressurize your mask, then all the excess will go through that purge first. If you overpressurize a regular mask, it'll just kind of escape either through the top, around the skirt, or down through the bottom, depending on how you're oriented in the water. The value of the purge valve in a mask is if you get water in there in your mask, then all you have to do is tip your head forward so that the water collects in the nose cup, and then take a breath through your regulator and exhale forcefully, and you'll push the water through there as well as the air. Um, when you're clearing your mask, typically you'll tip your head forward and clear it. You'll hold the top of the mask in place so it doesn't come loose, and you'll exhale and push the water out. If you don't have a purge, you have to tip your head backwards so the water collects in the cheek area, and then when you overpressurize the mask, the excess air pushes the water down through the skirt at your cheeks, not through the nose. So that's the virtue of that. Now, another thing to consider is the shape of your lenses, and it almost doesn't matter. It almost doesn't matter with the type of lens. Almost doesn't matter. You can get some that are more straight across, the traditional rounded type lenses, or you can get the ones like this, and I think a couple of the others were like this too, where it's a reverse teardrop. See, this is more of a traditional style. It's not a very big drop in the front part of the lens. But then you look here, there's a huge opening of visibility looking downward. And kind of like with this one too. The virtue of the reverse teardrop shape is that your downward vision is improved. So when you're trying to look down and you've got all this gear on, you're trying to look down to see if you've got something buckled, or you're trying to see your gauges or something. Having the more visibility, a more open field of view than compared to this can be a benefit. But it is a bigger mask, and so as you can see, the skirt along the bottom extends further down on your cheek, and underneath the nose cup, it can make an uncomfortable, depending on the type of regulator you've got in your mouth too. So that's another thing to consider. So and it's a very, all of this is a personal preference. Now for me, I can't do a purge mask because I've got a big schnoz, and so when it's in that nose cup, the mechanism of the purge just pushes against the tip of my nose, and it's very uncomfortable. I'm so very, very comfortable with purging my mask, clearing my mask, that a purge I don't need it. In fact, I'm as often as not going to intentionally put some water in my mask just so I can swoosh it around and help it clear the mask if my mask fogs up. Water in my mask doesn't freak me out, doesn't bother me. But for my wife, it's a different story. Now, I'm going to pull up, just show you. I've got a bunch of different masks that I have and I've used over the years. I've been through a number of different designs till I found ones that I gravitate towards more often than not. I can, if as long as it fits, I can be pretty comfortable in just about any mask that I put on. But I've gravitated towards the type with the deeper opening. But to show you an example of one that doesn't have as big an opening, I'll show you what my wife uses. So this is her mask, and so hers is the 4-windowed type. Let me switch to this one. So this is the 4-window type. So you see there's a break in the middle, and then you have the 2 front panels, and then there is the side panels. So you can see the vision that you have. And she prefers the fairly clear skirt as well. So she has full visibility of everything that's going around, but it feels more rigid and comfortable for her, and that's what she prefers. And you notice it's not a very deep drop, and so she has a little bit smaller face, so the skirt is not an issue. And oh, by the way, let's see if I can show this. Hers has the purge right there. Actually, hers is kind of cool because it's a layered purge, so it's actually protected. So it's hard to see with this, but the purge has actually got a protective shelf to it. There's an extra lip or extra skirt for the purge to be protected. The neat thing about that design is that if you're in an area where you might ground out, might get your face in the mud, so to speak, you're less likely to get something that gums that up because it's protected by this extra ledge, this extra skirt. So it's a pretty cool design, and she absolutely loves this mask. Matter of fact, one of these days I probably need to find her a pink one to go with her pink gear. Now let me show you the one that I have been using most consistently over the last few years. Now this one is a one-windowed mask. It's fairly, although it's weather because I use it a lot, it's the more clear edge skirt. So because I'm not afraid of I'm not claustrophobic. But it's the single view and it dips down pretty far. Now again, the downside of that is the skirt comes way down on my mask, and also up here it actually comes up pretty high. This would be considered a high volume mask because so much of it is away from your face. I would love to find a version like this that is what we call a low volume mask, so that it was closer to my eyes, doesn't have as much of a skirt to it. This would be actually an ideal type for for wearing the hood, because the hood would then cover this part, okay, around here. So this would help actually give you a little bit more insulation protection from the cold. But for normal diving, when you're wearing like a do-rag like I do a lot, having this much of a skirt on the top can really be annoying and get in the way. So that's a thing to consider. So and I don't have a purge in mine. I just can't wear those at all. And oh, by the way, just on this is an extra. This is free. Doesn't cost you anything extra. Another thing that I prefer. I watch students often wrestle with their snorkel. Now, it's a requirement for the class that you have a snorkel because you have a number of exercises there, and for those who've been through the class, you know what I'm talking about. But most of the time, they don't know what they're looking for, so they just buy any old snorkel, usually based on look or cost. Than the true function, how it fits their swimming profile on the surface. But ultimately, they all have pretty horrible ways to attach to your mask. And it's a wrestling match because you're trying to fit this plastic thingamabob around your strap here. And does it go under or over? And does it come loose? And oh, it broke. And that's why I got to say, these things right here are perfect. And I should have brought a snorkel to show you, but I guess I could do this with a, let's see, do I have I could use my light. All right. The beauty of these are because, especially if you get the neoprene ones, because you can get them in different colors. So I like purple, as you can tell from the lower third here. I love purple. It kind of goes with it. The beauty of these is they're very easy to use. They're very stretchy. They're easy to handle even with gloves on, which is a beauty. And here's all it takes. You simply take the strap. You see you're wrapping around. You just wrap around. It's so easy to do. Now all you got to do is slip the snorkel right through there. So I'm going to pretend this light is my snorkel. Again, this is stretchy, so it'll fit just pretty much any size snorkel. See, there you go. That's all there is to it. So easy to use, and it's easy to slide it up and down. But it's tight enough around it that it's not just going to slip out. Now, obviously, if you have one for a long time and it gets old and worn out, you just replace it. But, they're $1 or something like that. They're so inexpensive, and like I said, you can get them in different colors if you want. My wife's got, and this one's reversible, which is pretty cool. Got these at Diver Supplies. Like it's purple and yellow. My wife's got, of course, she had to have pink, but it's two colored, so it's got hot pink on one side and neon green on the other. So you can get it to fit your style. It's very easy. Buy a bunch of them. I have a few as just little spares in case students break. This makes a great addition to your Save a Dive kit too. And for those who are not familiar with a Save a Dive kit, Save a Dive, the most basic Save a Dive kit has a bunch of O-rings. Typically, the O-ring that's on your tank valve, some O-rings that might be in some of the rest of your gear, your regulators, etc. It should also include a replacement fin strap. Make sure it's one that works with your set of fins. And I highly recommend that when you're looking to buy fins, that if at all possible, unless it's a type of fin that you just have your heart set on, but it has a unique strapping feature, try to go with fins that have what I call a universal strap design. That way it's easy to replace. If you break a strap, somebody else probably has that same strap in a Save a Dive kit. I've got a couple of them for that type, and I've had to help other divers in a case where they broke a strap. Mask strap as well. Those can break. You get excited and you're like trying to tighten and you pull too tight, and you've had the mask forever and the strap breaks. That just would ruin your dive if you had to call your dive because you didn't have a strap. So and then having something like that for your snorkel. Just inexpensive things you can do to hedge the bet against a potential breakage or loss, or somebody else too. Be a good dive buddy when you're trying to knock out a dive. So definitely highly encourage you to pick some of those kinds of things up. So that was good discussion that we had, John, on the masks. So hopefully folks out there gain some valuable knowledge about masks. So it's personal gear. Go someplace to get fitted for it. Then you can buy online and get it typically cheaper. So it's up to you. Same with the wetsuit. Again, remember, make sure it fits snugly. You don't want a bunch of loose material. It should look like a superhero suit. That's what it should look like when it's fitted to you properly. So, and don't let vanity stop you from getting the right fitting wetsuit. We have, unfortunately, a friend of ours who's no longer in the area. He bought all excellent gear, but he had this thing about what size his wetsuit was, and so he bought a wetsuit that was I think a medium or something like that, but then he gained weight and he couldn't fit in the wetsuit anymore. It was too tight. Even though they stretch, you don't want to stretch them too much because then it just cuts off blood flow. And he stopped diving because he couldn't fit in his wetsuit, rather than just go out and buy a wetsuit that fits. So, again, make sure it fits well. Don't worry about the size. People aren't going to be asking you that. If you're more worried about how you look in your gear than how it works and fits for you, then you probably shouldn't be diving. As much fun as it is. So, all right. So I hope that was helpful to you all. Let's jump into, as we wind things down, jump into the administrivia. Okay. Next dive club meeting is 15 January, 7 p.m. at Rudy's Restaurant. Because of the holidays, we're going to not have a meeting in December because most folks are going to be out and about, as they say. And if you go to the website, you'll see that I do have our dive classes listed for this year. or for 2015. So here they are. Make a note of them. 23rd through the 26th of April, 28th through the 31st of May, 25th through the 28th of June, 23rd through the 26th of July, 27th through the 30th of August, and 24th through the 27th of September. And please sign up NLT not later than the first week of each month. You can sign up sooner if you want to go to the July class and want to sign up now. You can. I'll get you your materials, and you can be studying all this time if you want. But at the latest, sign up no later than the first week of the month of the class you'd like to attend. That way I can get your materials to you so you can begin your self-study and get the book all completed before we come together for the formal part of the class. If you are... if you're mad like me, crazy like me, and you dive all year round and you need air fills, you can go out to the Broke Mill RV Park out on Highway 90 West. So if you heard me talking about the newly reopened Cripple Creek restaurant being just this side of the loop, well, guess what? If you go underneath the overpass there, just past that, you'll see on the right, you'll see the Broke Mill RV Park. And good old Mike McCarson will be out there. He's got the big cascade system. So just call him ahead so he knows you're coming, so he can make sure the system is up and running, ready to fill your tanks. Just call him at 830-719-2935, and he'll be happy to help you out. Driving by the mall on my way out to the lake to take a look at lake levels and see if Spur 454 was truly closed. I noticed a Pet's Wish was doing a adoption event out in the grass out in front of our mall here, and they are always looking for volunteers. They're trying to plus up their situation. We're hoping to get some grants and monies coming in so that the pet rescue can afford to actually pay somebody to work during the week. To help keep things in order and organized and all that, so that the volunteers have an easier time of it going in the morning and the evening. So if you would like to volunteer, just please look them up. They're on Facebook. Just look up a Pet's Wish, Del Rio Pet Rescue, and you'll find them. And they're always looking for volunteers. They'd like some people to be available on a consistent basis. Finally, if you'd like to stay in touch with what's going on around the dive community here in Del Rio, check us out on our website, delriodiveclub.com, or to check out the more dynamic happenings. In other words, if somebody's going on a dive, we'll typically post it. We'll post things about the show being available and all that fun stuff. Just check us out on Facebook. Just look for Del Rio Dive Club. If you'd like to send us a message, just look us up on Skype. TGWD stands for Two Guys Who Dive. And if you would like to send me email, just send it to robert.wade@cetifox.net. It's not CD Fox. I hear that all the time. It's Ceti Fox, as in the star system. Tau Ceti. cetifox.net. Or you can follow me on Twitter. I will warn you, though, I'm pretty prolific on Twitter, and I tend to have a lot of political stuff on there. But if you'd like to hear what I'm saying and just to interact with me that way, you can just look for @RobertCFP. The CFP stands for Ceti Fox Productions, which is the studio that we're doing all of this with. So, listen, John, appreciate you being out there. It looks like we have somebody else out there who was kind of lurking in the chat room, but not saying anything, but that's okay. We'll be uploading the video to YouTube right afterwards. So if you had to drop in and out and miss different bits of it, you'll be able to see a little bit later on this evening. It takes about, because this is high def, it's 720p. Takes about an hour to upload and for YouTube to actually process it. It's actually a fast upload because we've got fast upload speeds with our internet connection here. But once it gets to them, they have to do all this. Their system does this processing so they can present it to you, the viewing public. So just check it out on our YouTube page, Ceti Fox Productions, later, and you'll be able to see see the show in its entirety, and you'll be able to pause it at different points or rewind and all that fun stuff. So we love hearing from you. Love hearing your suggestions, your ideas, your comments, your questions. Send us an email, follow us on Twitter, or please interact with us in the chat room. Would love to field those questions and keep the show lively talking with you guys. And so I hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. We did. We ate a lot of turkey and all that good stuff. We still got leftovers, of course. And barring any unforeseen circumstances, we hope to see you next week on another exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive. See ya.